Gentlemen, welcome and welcome to Market Talk number 6, where we have Joe Valente from Tavachak Law and Robert Schneider from Silik Financial. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me again today.
Thank you, Jay.
Thanks for having us.
All right, guys. So we talk about market topics, what we're seeing in the news, what we're seeing on the ground, and kind of give you, the audience, as much information and perspective as possible. So we like to start off by saying, let's talk about rates. So, Bob, what do we got on rates, and what's going on?
Well, it's report to report, meaning any financial report that comes out, if it's favorable towards what the Fed's mission is, meaning lower inflation, higher unemployment, then the rates start to come down. And then if it's stronger reports for the economy, the rates start to go up. This week we had a much better inflation report that shows signs of the inflation coming down, and we're starting to see rates come down this week a bit.
Great.
Call it kind of range bound from week to week, though. I mean, it's just bouncing around by reports. That's all.
Right. Gotcha. What is the sentiment of the public that you're hearing from your clients?
As far as rates go, or just in general?
Yeah, just rates and stuff like that. Are they, obviously they don't want a higher rate, but this seems like, because the market is strong, so they're pretty much still
concerned about the rates. At this point, I think they're more concerned about the fact that they can't find a house than they are about the rates. I think most people believe that they'll get into the house with wherever rates are, and they'll have an opportunity in the next couple of years to refinance, which is what most people believe. Rates will come down in the next couple of years, and they'll refinance. So it's more about finding a house and being able to afford it.
Definitely. Joe, what are you seeing on transaction wise? On some of these transactions, has the volume slowed down a little bit as interest rates have creeped up, and what are some of the hurdles that you're facing right now trying to get deals closed?
Yeah, it's I feel like since our last talk, the amount of transactions that's come across my desk has gone up significantly, but the problem is like a lot of these deals aren't getting into or through attorney review because there's a competing offer, or because a buyer's having like buyer's remorse for coming in way over their budget, just because you get competitive in this whole we can't find a house game, right? So I think there's a period that's setting in for a lot of buyers when they get their offer accepted, and then it's time to you get over you won the bid, and now you have to get to the nitty gritty of, okay, now we got to close this thing and go through the terms of the contract. You're seeing a lot of second guessing from buyers at that point. Home inspections have been a nightmare on these transactions. There's so much emotion for the parties right now. I've never seen this heightened sense of on edge of parties in a transaction. But the volume is has gone up definitely since our last discussion, but it's a matter of, are you getting the deal? Because of competing offers, because of just, like I said, like Bob said, you gotta know what your budget is. It's not winning the bid, it's winning the bid within your budget. That's kind of the important thing. So the idea is, when you get your offer accepted, you should have utmost confidence that this is exactly what you want. Not like, oh, are we overpaying? I mean, the only time you're overpaying is if you can't afford it. So
true. So I feel like we're like you said, everyone's on edge, and we're basically sitting on a powder keg sometimes, right? And you're just kind of waiting for the deal to blow up, because everyone has such heightened emotions right now, and it's such a competitive market that sometimes the competitiveness comes out in the buyer or in the client. And like you said, like the buyer's remorse, like they don't care, they'll do whatever they can to get that deal, and then all of a sudden when someone tells them they have it, and they're like, oh my god, wait, what? I got this? Like, wait, hold on.
I mean, to speak to Joe's point, I had a client this week, 10% down, buying a townhome. Her first offer on a townhome, it was accepted. The next morning she woke up, she's like, wait, what am I doing? I think she was just didn't expect it to be her offer to be accepted. So so she went into it not expecting. Once she woke up the next day, she's like, wait, I don't want to buy this.
Yeah. It's very, very interesting market. So and I was, looking at some of the headlines in the news and stuff like that. And first quarter of 2023, home prices rose 1%, right? Even with the market that we're in, home prices still rose 1%. And foreclosures are over 1 million fewer foreclosures in the last 3 years. Right. So, and the thing too is like what the media was, pumping out, like, oh my God, all these foreclosures are going to happen and it's going to crush the market and inventory, and have shadow inventory. I'm not seeing that right now. And I don't see it happening. The Fed also mentioned that there could be a mild recession by the end of this year, a mild recession, and then a 2-year recovery on that. Like, what would be considered a mild recession? Like,
isn't that what we're in the last year?
Who knows?
For 2 years.
Yeah,
we've been talking about this recession for at least 2 years now.
I know, and I think a lot of the media and stuff like that are pulling that back. Like there are a lot of in 20 in 08 when the crash like really happened, we saw a depreciation in home values by 20%.
Yeah,
we're seeing appreciation right now.
Yeah, this is a totally different animal. I remember I was just getting into real estate I wanted to get into real estate while that was going on, and that's not possible. Everyone was laying people off, not hiring them. But I remember the coattails of that, the whole 2008 housing crisis, and this is nothing like that at all. This is the struggles with right now is just an inventory problem. It's not a crisis that we experienced 15 years ago.
No. And with all that said, and I don't see depreciation 20% whatsoever. I don't see that happening. And especially if the Fed is correct in saying a mild recession by the end of this year, a mild recession is going to mean they're going to pull back rates, right? So there's the powder keg. As soon as those rates come down a little bit, boom. The problem in the conversations and the hysteria that we're around isn't going to decrease. It's going to increase in that case. Because also the fundamental foundation of our real estate market is extremely strong. Some of the stats I got here is that currently 80% of existing mortgages of homeowners are below 5%, and 50% of those are below 4%. Like,
where do rates have to come down to for people to say, all right, I'll give up my sweetheart rate and sell, so that the inventory loosens up a bit? Where do you think rates have to come down to? 5, 4? I don't ever see them. I shouldn't say ever, but I don't expect them to come down below 4. But if it hits, high 4s, do you think that loosens things up?
I think it has to do with interest rates coming down and then family circumstances. The family circumstances have to be strong enough to overcome 1.5 to 2 points. They have to be, their hand has to be forced. I don't see it voluntarily happening. It has to be a circumstance within the family or within the, economics of the household, job or something related, but I don't see it voluntarily being like, hey, I'm going to give this up.
I also don't think it's, I think it's less of what does the rate have to be at, and more of if they're at some point in the future, there's some type of drastic drop. People are very reactionary, and we're a culture that tends to forget about major events and react to the next big event that happens. So I'm not sure it's something where it needs to get to a certain baseline like 4.5, but let's say in a given month or a given couple months, the rate drops from 6.5 to 5.5, you'll probably have a lot of knee-jerk reactions based on that.
True.
But yeah, Bob poses the question, like what, and you made a good point. It's going to be like the balance, like at what cost does the rate have to be here and the family circumstances have to be here to warrant the decision to sell, right? So I don't think it has to drop below 5. I think it just has to be like a drastic change to get people's mindsets in a different direction. That's all.
I agree with you. I think we've been lingering at the 6 to 7 long enough that where if it did drop to 5, people are gonna be like, oh my God, let's go, let's go, let's rock and roll. And the thing too is not only are the percentage of mortgage interest rates of people that have them is extremely low right now, is that because of the appreciation, and even in the first quarter of this year, appreciating 1%, is the tremendous amount of equity that America is sitting on in their houses.
So that's a very good point. As you were saying that, I was actually thinking to myself, these are things that are going to be impossible to kind of figure out until they actually happen. But you're going to have a great subset of people who say, you know what, for 3 to 5 years, we've been able to have a low monthly payment. We've been able to sock away some money. Mm-hmm. And when that rate gets, low enough, we're not going to put our whole life on hold, but we have a 5-year period where we've saved money. Let's go buy a house now. There'll definitely be a lot of that too, as well. For sure.
Yeah.
You can't, what's the point of holding on to this amazing rate in a house you don't fit in if you do it your whole life? Then then your kids are moved out of the house and it's irrelevant. Like you just struggled your whole child rearing years to make it work.
Yeah.
There's a balance out there.
We're doing it though.
Yeah. Well, the problem is the balance is not at 7. I think the rate does have to come down to something where you don't have a 4.5 point schism between what they currently have and what they'd have to get into. So
yeah.
Right.
And I think too is like a lot of people are like, why risk it? We'll play it safe. We'll ride this out. Well, like we got a great rate. Maybe it's our house is a little tight, but we're good. We'll manage. Let's be more efficient and you don't put money away and go on vacation.
I saw this post yesterday about a house in Morris County that had 42 offers, and it was made its way through Facebook yesterday, and there were a lot of comments. And the one comment was a guy bashing everybody for overpaying for houses and stuff, and everybody then turned to him and said, you're lucky you might not be in a situation where you need a house, but there's plenty of people who need a house. So therefore, they are not overpaying for houses.
Correct.
And that's a lot of people out there that just need a house.
Yeah, and that's someone saying you're overpaying for a house is it's a personal opinion, because it depends. You can ride this out for ride your mortgage out for 30 years. You think in the past 30 years of someone owning a property, has that property depreciated enough to where it wasn't a smart move to purchase that house at that time?
Right.
No.
Right. When you look at everything through a small lens, yes, you're going to have some people that have better entry points into a market, right? But when you look at it, a house is a long-term investment. You're not day trading when you buy a house. So like you said, there's very few people that over the term of 10, 15, 20 years, they're going to look back and be like, wow, that was a terrible investment. I mean, it's real estate. So you need a place to live, and it's real estate. So it's never going to bite you as a bad investment. There's going to be some people that cash in a little bit better. It's just the way it is.
The people who bought in 2007, if they had to sell in 2008 or 9, yes. But those who bought it to live in it and raise families, did fine. 5, 6, 7 years later, they could go to sell it. They still made money on it.
Yeah. And if they're still sitting on it right now, doing very well.
Yep.
Doing very well.
That's right. And like anything can turn into a good retirement plan when it comes to real estate. So it's like,
and then you look like a genius. And then you look like I'm like, I timed it perfect, right?
Well, it's true. I mean, if you bought like Bob said, like if you bought in 2007, you're probably bitter for a few years, but does it matter now if you lived in that house 15 years? No. Your investment's appreciated. So
yeah. And you're saying, I knew this was going to happen. I knew this was going to be a good investment.
Right.
Yeah. But anything else to add, gentlemen? I think, we have nothing major changes to report. I think it's just the perspective has, the perspective of our real estate environment keeps changing. And obviously it's super interesting because, like I said, the fundamentals and the foundation of our real estate market with the percentage of low interest rates that people are holding on to and the equity that is built up in America, those two things haven't really been seen before as as the interest, inside of our economy, that it's like, I don't know how it's all going to shake out, but it's the strength of the real estate market is pretty incredible right now.
There's one thing that could change that coming up, and I don't expect it will, but the talk is this whole debt ceiling. We'll talk about it next time, but if for some reason we default on our debt and don't come to an agreement on raising the debt ceiling, that could have a major impact on rates and the housing market. So we'll post that. Let's see what happens for our next talk.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right, gentlemen, thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Take care, everyone. Next market talk
Bye.
will be summer, right?
Crazy.
That's it. So we'll be at the beach.
All right.
Later. Bye.